Everybody loves a good birthday. Well, most everybody loves to celebrate a birthday. I mean, heck, you're alive and you want to celebrate yourself still being alive. I think it's a pretty fascinating thing.
Next year is 2027, which marks the 200th anniversary, or birthday, of the founding of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. 100 years ago, though, in 1927, for its 100th birthday, the B&O decided to throw itself a massive centennial birthday bash. Hi, I'm James.
And this is Trevor from History on the Move.
And today we're here at a somewhat desolate industrial park in Lansdowne, Maryland. Here to tell you all about B&O's 100th birthday, or, as they like to call it, the Fair of the Iron Horse.
Stay tuned, grab that favorite cup of coffee, tea, juice, whatever the heck you're drinking these days, and enjoy this birthday celebration.
In 1927, the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad was planning a celebration for its 100th birthday. As the earliest chartered railroad in the United States, the Baltimore and Ohio was uniquely tied to the annals of American history and needed to make a celebration that reflected this. Daniel Willard, the president at the time of the B&O, and Edward Hungerford, who was the director of the celebration, looked at multiple different sites for their new celebration. These included the Laurel Raceway and a public park in Baltimore City that was offered by Mayor Howard Jackson. Eventually, they decided on this tract of land where we're standing now, 1,000 acres, that had been purchased in the 1800s by President John Wirt Garrett of the B&O for potential use as a car shop to complement that at Mount Clair. What was built here was a grand and massive fairground, as it would be named, the Fair of the Iron Horse. A 800-foot-long grandstand to seat 12,000 people was built next to a large oval of track in which demonstrations of steam railroading technology, both old and new, could take place, as well as a parade showing floats and performers dictating and acting out the history of both the expansion of the American country and the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. Where we're standing today is at the south end of the property. North of us, this is obviously now a large industrial park. North of us would have been and is still the B&O's old main line. A spur was taken off of there and a temporary station was built at Halethorpe to allow the mass influx of people to the Fair of the Iron Horse. One of the primary things that was here was a huge, I believe 500-foot long exhibition hall that showcased models of architecture, bridges, locomotives, rail equipment, full-size and miniature, as well as many different things that we'll get into in a minute. Visitors at the Fair of the Iron Horse could expect to see a wide variety of state-of-the-art railroad technology. This included the, at the time, brand new 5300 President Washington of the Baltimore and Ohio, as well as other advanced steam prototypes that the railroad was putting out. Other railroads advanced locomotives from the Delaware and Hudson, and locomotives from across the world, such as the Canadian Pacific and the Great Western Railroad of Britain's King George V class. This locomotive actually gained a bell in service at the B&O while it was in the US, and it wore that bell till the end of its service. Other things that could be seen were prototype diesel locomotives, which at the time were a cutting-edge technology, as well as classics in the B&O roster, such as the William Galloway, now known as the Lafayette, and the number 25 William Mason, as well as many other classic B&O locomotives of the 19th century you may be familiar with. Behind me stands the B&O's HX Tower. This, of course, would have controlled all of the train movements, and there were a lot coming into the spur that led to the Fair of the Iron Horse. Originally, Daniel Willard, the president of the B&O, estimated that about 20,000 to 25,000 people would attend this fair per day. However, his expectations were massively exceeded. On the first day, over 46,000 people attended. The fair started on September 24th, 1927, and was set to end on October 15th, 1927. However, due to the high attendance, the fair was kept open an extra day to October 16th. Over this period, over 1.3 million people attended the fair and its festivities. Over 139,000 cars parked in a lot not far from where we're standing today. Visitors to the celebration could expect to be entertained by the very best that the B&O's renowned hospitality services had to offer. Some of these services included a restaurant, coffee house, cafeteria, and an open-air tea garden. In fact, over the course of the event, over 174,000 hot dogs were sold to visitors. Visitors could also pick up a pamphlet just like this one. This is a program of all of the different events that would occur over the course of a day at the Fair of the Iron Horse.
So this is a segment that we call Cite Your Sources. And where does that come from? Well, as a former history major, I went to Towson University. I had a wonderful history professor, amongst all the history professors I had, named Dr. Robert Rook. And I'd sit in his office at Towson and I'd make historical discussions and say, you know, this, that, the other. And we'd go back and forth and I'd always try to see if what I was saying was correct. And he'd say, well, that's great, Trevor, but you just cite your sources. And I said, okay. So I'd cite my sources and we'd see if I was right or wrong. And probably most of the time I was somewhere in the middle, you know. So for this episode, James and I, pulled out all the stops that we could. And some really good reading material for you is, if you want the condensed version of Fair of the Iron Horse, you just want, a small little microcosm, this is your guy, John F. Stover, sorry. John F. Stover does a phenomenal job, and he is also a history, well, he's deceased, but he was a phenomenal history professor. His books are second to none. They are very scholarly. I highly recommend you get this. So History of the Baltimore Ohio Railroad, again, phenomenal read, and a nice little 3-4 pages of talking all about the Fair of the Iron Horse. Now, if you want the extraneous version, you want all these details, you want all the little, microcosmy stuff, Edward Hungerford. Now, this name is pretty synonymous with the B&O. Heck, he is the one, along with Daniel Willard, as James mentioned earlier, he orchestrated this whole thing. And in honor of the B&O's 100th, he wrote The Story of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, 1827 to 1927. And this is, as it says on the cover, profusely illustrated with maps, prints, photographs, etc. They're not lying. There's a lot of good information here. It's a 2-volume set. This is volume 2, because this deals with the Fair of the Iron Horse. And I believe it picks up somewhere in the mid-1880s or so. And it goes, it might also be 1890s, not sure. But again, it's a 2-volume set, and these are pretty easy to find. Now, if you want to know very in-depth information about the rolling stock and the locomotives that were there and what was inside of these buildings that they constructed for this event, the catalog of the Centenary Exhibition of the Baltimore, Ohio, this is a literal primary source. This gives you all kinds of good details, photos of the things that were there. Oh, look at that. 2 of my favorite pieces, number 10, number 21, the Civil War era bag scourges. How about that? This is really good detailed information. This tells you everything you want to know, again, about what was there on the site. Published in the year of the Fair of the Iron Horse. You can find these. These are also helpful. You saw James carrying these around. The Fair of the Iron Horse brochures. And this is something that they would give out to people as you came into the Halethorpe Fairgrounds. And if you really want to do all your due diligence, you pick up one of these. Yeah, this is the program you saw James walking around with earlier of the Fair of the Iron Horse. And this tells you, this has some really great photos, as you can see, of the different exhibitions and all that stuff. And again, primary source. This tells you so much you need to know. And heck, back in the day, this was only 10 cents. Now, it costs a lot more these days to find this stuff. But I'm not here to sell you anything. I don't want you to think that at all. But, I do want you to go out there and purchase these sources. Don't steal books. And if you borrow them from somebody, please give them back. Nobody likes books that just go pop, 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 and they go walking off out into the desert and they never come home and they die of thirst. That's no good. So return your books to people. And, make sure you be definitive and decisive in the sources that you cite.
We hope you've learned something today about the 100th birthday celebration of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad.
Now, granted, if you come out to Halethorpe and take a look around the grounds, you're not going to see the buildings, and heck, the Iron Horses aren't even here. But you at least know that the B&O went all out to celebrate its own 100th birthday.
As always, I'm James.
And this is Trevor.
And we're here to wish the B&O a happy 200th anniversary this coming year.
And as we always say, we want you to get out there, read history, explore history, but most importantly, we want you to make your own history and eat some cake in celebration of the B&O's birthday. Let's go cake.